Aaniin. Welcome to National Board Conversations, the podcast where we celebrate extraordinary educators who are making a difference in the lives of students. I'm your host, Edward Santiago, and today we have an incredible honor of speaking with Tan-A Hoffman. Tan-A is an Anishinaabe language and culture teacher from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. She's a passionate advocate for Indigenous education, a National Board certified teacher, and a board member of the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards.
Teaching is really a passion. It's a passion project, and it has to come from your heart.
Tan-A's dedication to her students and community shines through in everything she does, from revitalizing Anishinaabe mowing in her classroom to promoting equitable change in education. She's a true inspiration. So don't let me hold you any longer. Here's my conversation with Tan-A. Tan-A Hoffman, thank you for joining me on the podcast. I'm excited to have you. It's Indigenous Peoples Month, and we're going to get into it. You're a very strong advocate for Indigenous people. You're Indigenous yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to try to pronounce your tribe because I might embarrass myself. I'll let you do it first and then go from there. How are you doing today?
Lovely. Thank you for having me. This is very exciting. So Ani Bojo, Tan-A Hoffman, Indigenous, Wabashka Makuns Indigu, Makwa Indodim, Bawating Inda. And I am from the Little Traverse Bay Band of Odawa Indians. We call it Waganakussing. That is our original name. So we're the tree bends. That's how people knew coming down Lake Michigan where to stop and find us. We had a tree that was known to have a little crook in it. And so, yeah.
No, that's actually a really cool little story. Like, I'm somebody who does geography by landmarks too, so I love that it's a bending tree.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so can you give us a brief intro of yourself, your current role, and where you at?
Sure. So I am it's in the Anishinaabe name, but otherwise I am the culture coordinator and middle school language teacher, culture and language teacher. So that is Anishinaabe Jechatwawen, Minwa Anishinaabe Mowen Kiromage. So that's Anishinaabe Jechatwawen, the things that we do and who we are culturally, as well as the Anishinaabe Mowen, which is the language teacher.
Oh man, that's amazing. So we're gonna get into a little bit of you personally. So what are your 3 favorite foods?
Okay, so carrot cake for sure. I'm all about cake. I love cake.
You got a recipe?
What's up?
You got a recipe for carrot cake?
No, I don't make it. I just eat it. Crazy. So chicken Slovaki, strange. But I grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and in June there's this huge festival, and everybody comes out, and it's super inclusive. And I just have memories of getting my chicken Slovaki on a stick and eating that as we go around festival. And then one last thing that I always get. This is my Dairy Queen order. I must say it is the Hawaiian Blizzard with twist ice cream because I gotta have a little chocolate and a little vanilla, and I gotta have chopped nuts. So it's kind of like a banana split, but it's a blizzard. So
Oh, that sounds interesting. That sounds real interesting. Okay. Okay, I see where you're going there. The twist ice cream is perfect because it definitely gives that little extra bite.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right. So what are 3 songs that shaped you?
So I can't think of 3, but I'm a little embarrassed to admit this one. I was born in the 70s. I'm a child of the 80s, and in the 90s, that's like our jam, right?
Yeah, listen.
So whenever I feel really down or I'm over perseverating on something, something that I don't want to take up that mental space anymore, I sing the Ren and Stimpy song. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Oh, very. I feel like Ren and Stimpy kind of went off the air while I was coming of age, like when I was 8 or 9. I definitely remember Ren and Stimpy. That was my guys.
Okay, so happy joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exclude the visual that goes with that with Ren and Stimpy because it's kind of suspect. But that is my song. So whenever I need a little lifting up, that's where I go. And it's kind of funny because I talk to the kids about it and how the things that we do or think about can change our attitude and change our minds. And I share that with them all the time. And they're clueless, right, on who Ren and Stimpy is. And so when I show them a video, they're like, Mrs. Hoffman, this is not okay.
This is what you was watching?
Right? What is wrong? So I know. Yeah.
Hey, no reason to be embarrassed. Embrace it. All right. So the one sports team that has your heart, and if you're not really a sports fan, movies you can recite line for line.
Okay, so you cannot be a Michigander and not root for the Lions. Like,
They're killing it right now. They're killing it right now.
right? We are now in our time. We have been fans. We are diehard fans. If you are a Lions fan, you know you have been through the ringer. And so we are loving every minute of this right now.
Hey, listen, enjoy it. It's fun being on top. It's fun winning, right? And especially
Yeah,
since I've been down for so long. It's
yeah,
nice.
it's
to
really fun. Too funny.
All right, so you got some movies you can recite line for line?
Okay. So as an elementary school kid, I saw this movie called Space Camp. It was made in the late 80s. And it really made me wanted to go into science and actually made me want to be an astronaut. Um, Vision isn't so good, found out later. I'm not really liking math so much. I'm more of an ELA kind of gal. And yeah, so that one, excuse me, I love it. It's whip me, beat me, take away my charge card. NASA's talking. I'm
Oh man,
sorry.
we love it. We love it.
I am quite the quirky person, as you can tell.
I love it. I enjoy it. So, what are some hobbies you have outside of being involved with your school and community?
I read. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. I think my attention is not able to like sit there and watch a 30-minute sitcom or even a 2-hour movie. I just don't have it in me anymore. But give me a book and a full day to do nothing, I can sit there and read. So that's really what I'm doing these days. It also kind of goes with the idea that I didn't read in school.
Me neither. It's crazy, and I've read 13 books this year.
Yeah, I was not a reader in school. Reading was super hard. I was actually considered a special education student with, and later diagnosed with dyslexia. And so reading did not really come alive for me until about my junior year of high school. And since then, it's just exploded. So cool.
That's awesome. Like, it really is a whole new world when you get it, when you really connect with books. It's really been awesome. Really get for me personally getting into reading this year. It's really cool.
Beautiful.
So, can you share why you became an educator and remain in education?
Yeah, so like I was saying before, I had some needs in school, right? And so becoming the teacher that I needed was really important to me. And I didn't really see that path until I got about a couple of years into college already. And I was trying to think about where I was going to go and what I was going to do. And, I thought maybe I wanted to work with kids, but, um, you know, psychology was just, I think, a little too heavy for me. And then the social work was just too much on my heart. And so, right. So I went into education and then just found a true love and my true passion. As Anishinaabe, we are brought up and told that we have special gifts that are endowed given to us by the creator, and those gifts are connected to our clans and are connected to our Anishinaabe names. They're connected to our ancestors, and so in finding that path and that passion, I really do believe that I'm my purpose. I'm living my purpose. So
Oh, that's amazing, and we love it. So, what was your national board journey like, and how has it changed your teaching approach, especially when sharing Anishinaabe culture and language?
So, funny thing is, I started my journey as a reading recovery teacher. So I spent, yeah. So strangely enough, my teaching history, as you say, I started as a fourth grade teacher, and I spent about 8 years teaching fourth grade, and then I switched schools and became a reading specialist. It wasn't really until I went through reading recovery training as a teacher that I truly blossomed, I think, as a reader and understanding that acquisition of literacy right from the beginning. So it was a really beautiful, like, self fulfilling kind of journey for me in that. And then I got to the point where I was just like, well, I've got my master's, and do I want to get, maybe a education specialist in literacy, or do I want to get a doctorate in literacy? And I had and was very blessed to have an opportunity. Obama decided to work together along with our Department of Indian Education in the Department of Indian Affairs, and created a situation where they decided they wanted over 1,000 Native American teachers working on reservations to become nationally board certified, and they funded it.
Man, that's amazing.
So, I was given a mentor in Wisconsin, and 10 hours away, but still,
Flower.
yeah, we were given a mentor. We were given incentives to complete the task, to complete our components, as well as paid for our components. And so uh, it just happened to be the perfect opportunity. And so I went ahead and decided to do that. I ended up leaving reading recovery and going to back to fourth grade, but in this new school,
Mm.
because we were coming up against a time where Michigan was now creating a third grade reading law. And we really needed to kind of beef up the literacy instruction in the upper elementary. And so I wanted to really kind of dig in and do the kind of hard work that was necessary to help fourth grade students, but also young teachers that may not have as much maybe experience um, with students of that age, as well as acquisition of literacy. Because I remember teaching fourth grade in my first 8 years, and I was like, I have no clue what I'm doing. I mean, the college didn't prepare me for this, and all I could read was the teacher's manuals and try to figure it out. And at that time, we didn't have the internet, so I couldn't Google stuff.
What was the world before the internet? What are you
I
talking
don't know. So that was really an amazing opportunity, and we now have, oh goodness, 10 nationally board certified teachers at my school, and through the years have had roughly up to at times 25 people going through candidacy, and so that's been pretty amazing. Although the Bureau of Indian Education incentive is no longer at our school, the tribe that we are in community with, the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians, they have decided that this is important to them. And so they continue to fund, right, our national board journeys and candidacy for teachers that want to go ahead and go through that. So it's amazing. Pretty cool.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, very lucky.
So, how has national board certification opened up new opportunities for leadership or mentorship within your school, district, state? It seems like you've been all over the place for real.
I don't know about that, but you know, it really did, and it started out. So I think I achieved in 18 or 19, and during that time met with Dr. Holmes Sutton and Juliana,
Oh,
and
and all the superstars.
right? I know, that's and what an amazing mentors they could be. And so, yeah, we actually worked together right at the start to create opportunities for minority teachers to go ahead and create a space where we could get together and talk about our issues with our leaders and our instructional individuals that mean specific things to diverse groups of people. And so for Black and Brown students, right? And so that was really important to us. So yeah, having mentors like that is an amazing advantage there. um, But then, after becoming a National Board of Professional Teaching Standards board member, I then was, what am I thinking? Asked to apply for Michigan Teacher of the Year. And so we went through that process with the state of Michigan, and I became the 2020 regional teacher of the year. So in Michigan, where we have several regions, and
Mhm.
the Upper Peninsula is Region One. And so, yeah, that year I was Region One Teacher of the Year. So that was pretty fantastic.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, and so I think those two pieces together, nationally board certified teacher, regional teacher of the year, um, it helps give me a seat at tables that Indigenous individuals don't usually have a seat at, and so I'm pretty proud of that, and I try to be very cognizant of that, so that I can bring my perspective of the things that we have endured and why things may be difficult, but yeah, also the beauties of who we are to the table in conversations.
Oh man, no, it's good to see highly qualified teachers experiencing the leadership opportunities and being able to have those conversations about what's impacting classrooms, right? Because sometimes people have conversations over teachers and they without them being in the room, and
Yeah,
it's
about
not,
us, not with us, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think it's really important that, like, I keep my national board certification paperwork right up in my classroom because I want other Native American children, of course, to see that this is possible and that there are more things out there. And, it's the windows and doors, right? We're
that's it. All the ones you got. Sometimes you got to open them yourself, and that's
in. Absolutely, that's right, and show them what's possible. So,
yeah.
yeah, representation matters, um, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's at the table, helping make decisions. And so I try to do that.
So yeah, November is Indigenous Peoples Month, but you bring Indigenous knowledge and perspectives into your classroom all year round. How do you do that, and what kind of impact does that have on your students?
Oh my goodness. So, outrageous, right? There's a lot of pieces to that, especially when I was a general education teacher. So, you know, this is once again a reason why representation matters because I don't have to think more about adding that cultural diversity into my lessons. I can speak from my heart and speak from what I know as I'm teaching the subjects that I teach in order to share that Indigenous knowledge with my students. But now that I'm in a position of culture coordinator, and it is absolutely phenomenal some of the things that we're doing. I get to have a class, an elective class, where that's all we do. It's 100% land based, place based education. So last year we brought over some community knowledge keepers that understood. How to process manoomin. So, manoomin is a very special and sacred food to Anishinaabe. It's called the good berry, and that's what manoomin means, the good berry. So it's connected to our journey, our Anishinaabe journey. So our story starts actually on the eastern coast, um, at the ocean.
Man,
And then our prophecies and prophets guided us all the way over here looking for food that grows on the water. And it's this monomen. And so creating that opportunity because unfortunately, due to over harvesting, due to the destruction of places that have happened, things that have happened in the water and the Great Lakes, we don't have monomen beds anymore. Correct. And so, in order to get that monomen, we have to go to Wisconsin or Minnesota and bring it back. And right now, different tribal groups are working hard to reestablish those minimum beds. But this is something that we have lost as a people, that activity of doing that. And so having the kids come back and be able to do that here at our school and learn about that, building traditional Gmon or traditional birch bark canoes that go along with that. And then rice knockers, those are the poles that we use to take the rice off the actual stalks when they're in the water. So quite amazing stuff. We had another elder come in and teach us about um, hiding a deer. So we had a deer, strung up in our garage, and the kids were able then to not only try to take the fleshing the hide, taking the hair off the hide, all while using brain tanning methods, our traditional methods. So we had to get the brain out of the deer. And I
Man,
know, yes, and do all of it, but then also learning about the importance of Wawashgeshi, which is deer in Ojibwe, and understanding the different instructions that were given to us by the Creator. So when Ake or Earth was made, um, everything we believed had a spirit in it. And so the earth has a spirit, the wind has a spirit, but then on top of it, the earth or the creator put down the plant beings and told the plant beings, your job is to take care of the two-legged and the four-legged, or take care of the spirits that are yet to come. Creator then put down the four-legged. Your job is to take care of the spirits that are yet to come. The two-legged came down, and your job is to take care of those spirits that are already here on earth. And that's that stewardship connection then, right? But then they also get to learn what we say arazukans, or those are the sacred stories that we only tell in the wintertime when snow is firmly on the ground, which we didn't have a whole lot of time last year. I don't know
man,
about you, but our winter was a bit messed up.
same.
So we had to hurry up and tell a bunch of winter stories and take that time to instill all of those teachings while we're trying to do all this really cool place-based knowledge. So yeah, I mean, we learn about trapping, we learn about fishing, we learn about treaty rights, we learn about boarding schools, we learn about our history, not only from the journey from the East Coast over, but even our current history. So lots
Man,
of amazing things. It's crazy in here.
sounds fascinating, and I would love to just jump in y'all classroom for a year and
Oh
just
goodness,
learn everything.
it's fun.
Along with all that, it's important to keep Indigenous language alive and thriving. What role should schools play in that, and what are some things you've done in your own classroom that have worked well?
So there are three very vital things that give us as Indigenous people sovereignty. And that means the ability to govern ourselves, and to make sure that we are still considered what we would say as an entity or a nation inside a nation. So most people don't realize that treaties were made with Indigenous or different tribal groups with the understanding that it was one nation to one nation. The United States only makes treaties with other nations. And so we are, although we are now on reservations or in different land areas, those tribal communities with reservations have to be considered um, legally other nations, although we follow rules that are state rules and also federal rules. But we get the ability to have sovereign control over some things. And in order to keep that sovereignty, you have to have land. This is what the federal government has decided for us, unfortunately. But you have to have land. You have to have the ability to govern yourselves, and you have to have your language. Unfortunately, there are too many indigenous nations around the United States that are losing their language because of boarding schools, because of federal Indian policy. And as they continue to learn, or as they continue to lose their elders that carry that knowledge, they're losing pieces and parts of ultimately who they are, and then the sovereignty that then is given to them in the United States. So, with that, language is an absolute must. One of my teachers says that above no fault of our own, we don't speak our language. And that is directly related to the federal Indian policy that has been put upon us and created by the federal government to distinguish or to actually extinguish us. Um, and so, in that essence, I'm not supposed to be here. I am not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to know who I am as Anishinaabe Kwe. I am not supposed to be learning my language, and we are not supposed to be teaching children this right here, right now, and especially as a Bureau of Indian Education school. So, with that, we are very resilient in fighting those pieces, right? And so, how do we do that in the classroom? Well, I'm actually taking language class myself, and then that is my role is to be the Anishinaabe Mowen Kiromage, the language teacher. But before that, when I was just in the classroom, not just in the classroom, but in a general education classroom, um, one example is that I was teaching the double consonant phonics idea about how the double consonant then rules the vowel in front of it, right? And we ended up calling it the Gitcha Gitcha Ganeshi rule because the double consonant is an alert system for your eyes to see how that vowel before it is going to either be a long sound or a short sound, right? And
Right.
so, what do chickadees do when they see a predator? They let out these sounds, and it's just amazing. And they just keep going and getting louder and louder so that the predator thinks that they're a larger thing than what they are. And so every time the kids would see a double consonant in a word, they'd yell out, Getcha Ganeshi, and be that alert system for us. And so I'm not going to lie, it did make some choral reading or some reading altogether a little difficult at times, but how can you get upset when they're, number one, doing the academics of the phonics and recognizing that, but then also speaking their language. So,
Oh
it's
man, that's really
exciting
cool.
for them.
Listen, kids gonna be kids.
That's right. Just get excited.
They're clearly passionate about educational leadership, especially when it comes to Native American education.
Yeah.
How does your work with the national board, especially as a board member, help you make a difference in Indigenous students?
Well, I am the only Native American that is sitting on the board for the national board. And so I think it's super important that although unfortunately people have stereotypes of what Anishinaabe look like, I do not meet those stereotypes. And at times people forget that. Um, and so it's really important for me to show who I am in other ways, whether it be with my earrings or the ribbon skirts that I wear. But it's important for others, especially when I'm in those board meetings, to know what perspective I'm bringing to this table. And it is not your typical uh, I suppose, Caucasian perspective that matches, right, our school system
Yeah.
in a sense. We have so many teachers right now that don't match the actual student clientele. So, we don't have enough black and brown teachers. And so I'm there to make sure that people understand that is my forward thinking when I think about policies and decisions that we're making or talking about.
So, what advice would you offer educators who want to be more culturally responsive in their classrooms, even if they don't teach in a predominantly Indigenous community?
So, culturally responsive education is super important. And you can think of like culturally responsive as in our skin color, our ethnic backgrounds, our religious backgrounds. But you can also think of culturally responsive just as in the community in which kids live, period. Right? It doesn't necessarily need to fit a one size fits all kind of standard or thought of being. So my advice is get in your communities. You've got to know your kids. When you make connections to communities, when you make connections to kids, and when you make connections to families inside your classroom, using your academic content, but using their real life, not in a stereotypical way, but because you were there yesterday and you know exactly what was going on, um, students are able to develop the connections in the brain synapses. All their little dendrites start firing and things, networks start building and growing, right? And then they're
Mhm.
able to create more opportunities for themselves for critical thinking and understanding. So, teachers, we have to get into the communities. You have to, I'm not saying live in the community because I know that all communities are a bit different, but you definitely have to go in and experience community. Oh, invite community leaders in. Go to and seek out your community leaders, bring them in the classroom. Nobody's expecting anybody to know everything about all of it, right?
Yeah.
So be that person, be that leader that says, I don't know this, but I can find somebody who does. And then bring that person into the classroom to give the children, your students, that experience that they need.
Like I saying, it takes a village.
It does. Absolutely.
All right, so I read in your bio that you love learning from elders, and you've talked about it a couple of times here. So, is there a particular piece of wisdom or teaching that has stuck with you or influenced your work as an educator?
Um, yeah, when I took this job, I really had to decide. Was it really time for me to leave the general education classroom setting? Um, at one time before that, I'd really thought about it because I was thinking about becoming the literacy coach, and that was another time that I really kind of sifted and sorted with this teaching that was given to me, and that teaching is you'll know when you know, plain and simple. But it takes time, it takes understanding, away from the noises of life to get in touch with your spirit, in your heart, in your mind, to really know when you know. Um, and when you know, then you definitely know. I know it sounds,
So I
but
understand. Someone else, you just understand. Like when you hear it, it makes sense.
yeah, and as an Anishinaabe, we have that intuition piece, right? We don't call it intuition; we call that's our spirit. We view ourselves as spirits having a human experience. And that's what my teachers tell me. We're just a vessel. So this is just my outside piece, and the real part of who I am is that intuition, is that spirit. And when that mind and spirit come together and really kind of meditate or pray or talk to, we call them the Monidug, the spirits, then you will get uh, a knowing, and it's within that knowing then that you'll be able to take those next steps forward. So
Amazing, amazing.
mm.
So we're gonna try to get some teachers into the classroom now. If you
Mm.
tell the education profession to someone looking to get into it in 1 to 2 minutes, what would you use as your elevator pitch?
you know I'm not gonna lie, teaching is hard these days. I mean, I think sometimes teachers aren't told the truth, especially when they're just starting college. Teaching is hard, and it is definitely not something that you should ever consider a job. Um, Teaching is really a passion. It's a passion project, and it has to come from your heart. So I think that teaching today i- is is the good heart work. And so if you are ready to come into classrooms and be more than just somebody that gives academics, if you're willing to come in and say you're sorry to kids, if you're willing to come in and to make mistakes, this definitely is the place for you. once again, as long as you're willing to also do the good learning while you're here and learn from your students and learn from the community that you live in and learn from the teaching community that surrounds you. It is beyond the most satisfying job you will ever get. I can definitely attest to that. But yeah, it's passion work. Definitely.
We love it. All right. So we have a feature on the podcast called the shoulder tap. It's when you tap a colleague on the shoulder and let them know they're ready to become national board certified. Here, you'll give them a quick shout out, and we'll encourage them across social media to let them know that you said they're ready. So, Tan-A, who are you shoulder tapping?
Oh my gosh. I'm really blessed at JKL to have such an amazing community of teachers that support us. So I honestly would say all of JKL teachers are ready. If they are not now, they are ready to work towards that national board certification. But one in particular I would like to give a shout out to is Shelly Butson. And Shelly Butson and I have not always seen eye to eye. Shelly and I are very passionate Anishinaabe Kwe, and both of us are Bear Clan. And we kind of had a conversation one time and figured that, you know what, we must have been up in the spirit world, had a conversation that we were going to come down here and teach each other some lessons because I know that I have learned so many lessons from her. And so I want to let Shelly Butson know that she's more than ready. She is exemplifying what accomplished teaching looks like in her classroom every single day. And it is true passion work for her. And I'm super excited that she is able to share that passion work and is now doing it with interns. We have college pre-service teachers coming into her classroom, and I'm so excited she's helping them. But I know she's ready to do national board.
All right, we love it. Shelly, you up. Tan-A Hoffman, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Miigwech, Tan-A. That was such an enlightening conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your insights and your dedication to Indigenous education with us. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Tan-A's story is a testament to the power of culturally responsive teaching and the importance of amplifying Indigenous voices. If you were inspired by her words, please subscribe to National Board Conversations on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. We always appreciate your feedback. Remember to check out our show notes for links to Tan-A's work, including amazing things happening at JKL, Botwig, Anishinaabe PSA, and the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. Until next time, Chi Miigwech, and keep the fire for educational excellence burning bright.